This episode of the Nerdball Podcast is sponsored by Jake Paluski at Real JP Multimedia. He does the music for this podcast. He has produced this podcast. If you need anything audio-visual done, he is the man to see at realjp.com, REELJP.com. Let's start the show.
Hey everyone, I'm Arminda Russell, and this is Nerdball Podcast.
This is the Nerdball Podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
All right, thanks for joining me on the podcast today. I was wondering how you said that because
yes, Arminda.
Arminda. Okay, perfect.
Quite a tricky one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's when I found out, how that came to be, I thought that was pretty cool too. So, the name that you have.
I went by Maddie forever, and then I came out here, and since I'm far enough away from my mom, it's not too confusing since we have the same name,
Yeah.
So I was like, why not? Let's give Arminda a try, and I kind of like it, so it's stuck.
Yeah, it's cool. It's unique. It's especially if you have your own thing like you do. It's cool to have something unique like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a brand strategy, if you will.
Yeah. The first thing I have guests do is just let me know something you've been really nerding out about, something you've been really into, something, even if it's a movie or TV shows, a hobby you do, if you're doing puzzles, whatever. The only thing it can't be your job. So just something that you got besides that you've been really into lately.
Well, my most recent, I love that. Especially the no work thing. That was definitely something that I think everybody struggled with when we all got kind of locked inside. Like, what are our hobbies outside of work?
Mm-hmm.
So I picked up roller skating.
Oh, so
not the blades, but the 4 skates. That's been really fun lately. I live kind of 5 minutes away from a boardwalk, so I'll take them down there. Try to get there during my lunch break, but normally it's just kind of for a quick skate after work. But I'm a big self-help book worm. I've been reading. I started, with the 10 pages that everybody does, with the 75 hard type of thing, and it actually kind of made me fall back in love with reading again, which is awesome. So I have a whole line of books. If you need any sort of recommendations for the self-help department, I'm your gal to hit up. That is for sure.
So the two things. Why did you choose roller skates? Because mostly nowadays people are choosing roller blades to do anything.
Yeah.
What is up with why? How'd you get to roller skates?
Well, I'm going to sound super basic, but I liked the way they looked.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, you have to start somewhere with it, right? You're like, hey, I like the look of these, so I'm going to put these on.
Why not? Yeah, and I knew how to rollerblade already, so I wanted to kind of teach myself to do something new. The goal is to be able to learn how to dance. I can do one spin on them right now without completely eating grass, but it's been pretty fun. I don't know. I feel like a kid again. I wanted something kind of playful, like a childhood, inner child, kind of thing. But it's been really fun. Easy way to, I think I smile the whole entire time. So it's a good way to kind of get that, muscle working.
Do you have friends that you roller skate with, or is it mostly a solo thing?
Yeah, well, since I live in San Diego, it's pretty much always sunny. There's actually a really big community that does a ton of skate sessions.
Sure there is, yeah.
So we'll all kind of meet up with each other during sunset, after work. Everybody kind of just lets their inner child out and goes and skates up and down. One person will have a boombox or something. Somebody will be playing it off their phone. It's a whole event. It's really fun. I want to get the glow heels because, then you can go at night and everyone can see you. Pretty cool.
So, man, that it is cool. And I do like the fact that you're bring out your inner child, because every once in a while, we're all adults and we're all we got to, go to our job and do this, do that. Every once in a while, it's fun just to be let's do this. Let's do this fun thing that I really love you're right. It just makes me very happy. And that's the whole point of this question is what makes people happy,
Totally. Well, I love that. Yeah. And I think it's important to kind of tap into childhood, because I think we're all still children.
Sure.
We just have more responsibilities the older we get, the more laps we do around the sun.
Yeah. I always feel like I'm a supervisor at Pearson Metro Park, and I always feel like I'm still 20. And I'm I shouldn't be in this position. I have friends who are teachers and principals and all this. we're still like right out of high school, right? How are we like in these important positions? It's weird. It's a weird feeling.
I 100% agree. Yeah. And the more people I talk to about that topic, I think like we're all kind of collectively under the same agreement there.
Yeah.
Nobody really feels like their age. I think age is totally a mentality thing. So that's hilarious because I still feel the same way.
Especially when I would imagine, especially when you come home and you're with your brothers, you're like, oh, I'm this little sister.
Oh yeah, I'm easily I instantly go back to like my 11-year-old, devious ways, and
that's awesome.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah. And you talked about self-help books and all that. Is there something that made you like gravitate towards that, like that genre, saying like this is what I want to start reading?
Yeah. Well, I think kind of being launched into a business owner, I got laid off, which is kind of not the sole reason why I started my business. I always kind of knew I wanted that, especially with my parents, and we all know them. But my mom, kind of introduced me with that at a young age. So anytime I would feel stressed or overwhelmed or even just like get ready for school, she would always make us listen to self-help YouTube videos. Okay. So subconsciously, I think growing up kind of just in that environment, I just naturally kind of gravitated towards that section because it was comfortable for me. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm thankful for the hobby, that's for sure. But I think it really developed in the most recent, since launching my business and things. It's kind of like comforting to know that other people have been in the same position that you've been in or you're currently in. So
yeah. And for those people who don't know, your parents own Big Daddy Graphics. They were on podcast. I should have wrote it now. I don't remember what number it was.
Oh yeah, what episode?
I think it was in the 30s, but I can't remember for sure. But I've really gotten really close with them and like almost like family, because I go in there a lot. I always buy Christmas presents there every year, and I'm always looking for something. If I'm around town, I'll just stop in and say hello and stuff. So and when they talked about all of you, basically your siblings, you're all entrepreneurs, like just having this thing. And I think it's cool because that's where it came from a little bit, is from your parents. Now it has to be
definitely.
It has to be on you somewhat because you're the one doing it.
So
let's go back in time a little bit. I want to ask you about you, and you could talk about the job you got laid off from, or if you can't, if you don't want to, that's fine too. But what was that job? And how was that a catalyst to what you're doing now?
Yeah, well, I love the job, so I'm happy to talk about it. It was marketing. I was basically a social media manager. So marketing firms, it was the PR agency that kind of expanded into marketing, and then it's expanded into, the digital marketing aspect of like social media management and coaching things. So I was kind of like a spearhead in their department, which was really awesome because it was social media at the time was still pretty new. I mean, there was departments being built and it was less of an intern's job and more of a, okay, let's actually take this serious, it's kind of with the shift to starting to shop online and with, social medias being able to tag products and posts, clients started to take a lot of interest in it. I worked in a really interesting market, and it was actually, alternative wellness in California, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
So it was an interesting thing because, like I said, my parents, obviously they had, Big Daddy Graphics growing up, but they also were ex-law enforcement.
Yeah.
So that was quite a conversation when they're like, what's your first job? And I'm like, well, I work in the cannabis industry for marketing. So it was quite interesting, but gave me a lot of challenges because at the time, you couldn't even talk about CBD, and that was really most of my clients. So it gave me kind of a challenge to really develop an organic growth strategy for marketing. So, less of paid social media posts and campaigns of that nature, and more of just like really kind of making the connection again, which I'm happy because, now with the pandemic, we're kind of seeing people more so follow people for the connection and less so for the marketing aspect of things. But anyways, I digress. I'm kind of going on a tangent there.
That's important because that's something I'm learning too. Is just it's hard to do this podcast and put out episodes and then do the video and audio editing and then post on social media. Like all the stuff it's hard to do all the stuff and slowly but surely I can add more and more. But it is, and I understand why there's companies that hire people like
Yeah.
you to do it, because it's a lot of work.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say, people are like, how do you come up with content ideas? Because I'm like, I'm sitting here thinking about it all day. That is my job to come up with those ideas. So, and I've been in, kind of the position, there was a time where I was just kind of freelancing while I was doing my marketing job as well. I was freelancing more with people that I worked with during college, that I've just kind of, I was doing my parents' stuff and a few of other people that I worked with from home. And so it was hard to kind of juggle everything and launch kind of, a brand. And I didn't want my current agency to think that I was trying to steal clients because they were in the completely different, category. So I mean, it was kind of a hush hush thing for a minute. And then unfortunately, the pandemic hit and the agency went fully remote. We had, a beautiful downtown, Little Italy type of thing. I was totally living my Emily in Paris moment in Little Italy. But yeah, unfortunately, hard hit times hit, and then some people were let go. I still do some work with them. There's no burnt bridges by any means. So still a great company, but yeah, it kind of stumbled me into doing my business, my freelancing thing kind of full time, and just seeing if I could do the whole entrepreneur thing again. I tried once with a Mary Kay consultant business when I was 18. Yeah, that was my first business endeavor failure. But
okay, I want to go back to that. I do have a few more questions because that's interesting too.
Yeah.
So when you talked about telling your parents about, hey, this is what I do, I'm in the cannabis industry. Were you nervous about that, or were you like, hey, they know how it is out here in California?
I was definitely nervous. I mean, I think my parents, their their knowledge about cannabis was a little bit more impressive than I actually thought. They kind of knew that it was an up and coming market. They knew the benefits of CBD and things like that. And, I also think my brothers have warmed them up to it a little bit. Luckily, I was like the last kids, not saying that they do that at all, but
sure.
I think that just like the culture of it, they kind of, they didn't freak out as much as I thought they were going to. I think they were just more excited that I found a job in a brand new city, kind of more curious. I think, oh man, I don't have it with me around here, but they sent me actually a little ornament my first Christmas here, and it was a weed leaf.
Oh, really?
And it was like, decorated like a Christmas tree. So I think they had, all high spirits about it, but no pun intended. But yeah, no, I think they took it well. They were just excited to see that I'm getting my foot in the door and things, and actually did introduced me to a lot of awesome people that, some people I still work with today. So you never know where life is going to take you, or your kids, I guess, in that matter.
Yeah. No, you're right. Well, when did you move out to San Diego?
Yeah. So I graduated college in May of 2019, and I had a one-way ticket 3 days after graduation. Kind of just packed it up and left. Yeah.
Did you go by, you went by yourself?
Well, so my boyfriend, I live out here with him.
Okay.
He graduated a year before me, and we both we tried out Miami for our senior year internships, and we enjoyed it, but it wasn't kind of where we envisioned ourselves, like kind of planting roots and things. Not that our roots are kind of permanent in San Diego, but his sister lived out in LA, so we'd come out here for Thanksgiving every year. So we kind of had the understanding that California was also pretty cool too. So we came out here, checked it out, LA style. And then I looked up, best cities to find jobs basically after graduation. And it said San Diego was a big startup city. And I was like, let's go there. So he moved out 4 months before I did. So it was an easy transition. But when I made it here, he had, an Amazon box as his TV stand. And he was, our cat was with him, and so the cat litter box is also one of the pieces of 3 furniture that he had, and it was like a mattress topper was what he was sleeping on. So it was definitely a struggle for a bit, but happy now, that we did it. Yeah.
So first of all, San Diego's awesome. I went out there to visit one of my friends, my wife and I did, and it was so awesome. I would move out there, but it's super expensive, and I don't want to move out there. So obviously before you moved out there is when you did the Mary Kay thing. Now, Mary Kay to me seems like a mid-level marketing kind of company.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So and all those things that like people do Tupperware, people do all these other things still. And I don't understand. Maybe I understand a little bit more with you because you're 18, but I don't understand when there's 40-year-old women who sign up for these things. And I'm not saying like you were oblivious to what was happening.
Yeah.
But you were younger and maybe you didn't have as much knowledge of what was going on. But it seems odd to me that people still like get in these businesses.
Well, I think I agree. And I think it's lack of education because they just don't know how easy it is to start your own business. I mean, I say that with it's easy, but you have to have, a lot of dedication and mental prep to do it. But, if you're doing that for an MLM or, pyramid, whatever, you're already putting in that work. So you might as well just file for your own LLC and figure out a formulation company. I mean, if you need one, I have one type of thing. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm happy that I started it. I got into the business because my mom sold it when she was in her 20s.
Okay.
So she kind of was like a legacy, right? I always knew that my mom sold Mary Kay cosmetics at one point, and me being the girly girl, she was a tomboy. I was infatuated. I was like, I'm going to do that as soon as I can. So you have to be 18 to have, your business through them. So I waited till I was 18 and signed, the papers, bought the whole inventory. And I was like, all right, here's my strategy. I'm going to, kick it hard. Wow. I didn't realize, owning your own business is actually a lot of mental work, and putting yourself out there. It was, I think, the biggest struggle for me. And I didn't do it as much as my business needed. And then I kind of got stuck with my whole entire, I still think I have some Mary Kay cosmetics from my 18-year-old self. Yeah. None of them match my skin tone either. It's like, it's at this point, it's all like blue eyeshadows. And I'm like, oh, great. Never going to use this. But I think it was a good learning lesson. But yeah, I mean, if I have advice for my 18-year-old self, I would say do it yourself. You can easily start some website, the rest falls into place.
I feel like I'm going to have the Mary Kay Mafia after me after this conversation.
No, it's fine.
I do see every once in a while I see those pink Cadillacs driving around. The Mary Kay thing on the back.
It's tempting, man. It's like the pink Cadillac. That's kind of on brand for me. Okay.
All right. So we went through your background and I'm assuming the way you made it sounds like you're glad you did that thing with Mary Kay because it opened your eyes to what else is out there and how I can start my own business and stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. I was, I think it got me started on the whole, oh my gosh, what if I was my own boss, thought process. So, obviously I still went to school and things. That's pretty common. You think about, okay, you get the big corporate job afterwards. And people don't talk about what if you're in that corporate job and you're like, oh man, this isn't really what I wanted or what I signed up for, and then you're kind of lost. So I'm happy that, not saying that I was kind of in that position, but I still always had that seed, what if I could do this myself in the back of my mind, so I think when I did get laid off, it wasn't the end of my world. It was kind of beginning almost in a sense. Yeah. Okay, well, maybe I could take my Mary Kay self out of the closet again and really work my business this time and actually try, So if I never failed with Mary Kay, I don't know if I would have launched an LLC. So yeah, happy I worked for them.
Yeah, that's important. I have a huge thing with college. I understand people want to go and it's useful for some people, but for some people it's not useful.
Right.
Do you use or I don't want to phrase it poorly, but it's are you glad you went to college and is it beneficial for what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm happy I went because I don't think I would have gotten my internship with Royal Caribbean, which was really fun. That was my internship that I did in Miami to test it out if I wanted to move there. So I don't think that opportunity obviously would never have happened without just saying that I was in the process of getting the piece of paper. I think the piece of paper did open up certain opportunities versus not having it. Do I think it was absolutely necessary for me to get to be where I'm at now? No, by any means, no. I think
That's such a good answer.
I know.
I do like that answer. It's very good
Thanks.
because you're right. Internships don't happen if you're not in college, right? So that's important.
Yeah.
For some people it is important to have that piece of paper, but ultimately, if you went from 18-year-old Arminda to now, and you don't need it. Is what it
Yeah.
sounds like is what you're saying. But those
Yeah.
experiences in the middle, kind of shaped what you're doing now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the type of person, positive or negative situation, there's always a learning lesson out of it. So, positive things of college, and also there's, some negative situations. I'm in debt, which nobody likes.
Yeah.
And that's, forever looming over your head, which many of us feel. And sometimes I think, what if I didn't go and didn't have that student debt and did launch my business sooner? I feel like maybe I would have been in a different spot too. I don't regret how I did it at all. I think, I met a lot of people. I met my boyfriend in college,
Yeah.
met a lot of cool people. I had a lot of cool experiences. So I think, socially, I'm happy that I went, but education wise, I mean, I think my dad always had like this amazing kind of analogy for school and, general education versus school. Or general knowledge versus general education. And it was that, education just like gives you're like the lump of clay now on the wheel, ready. They're going to like put you on the clay. They're going to take you from off, out of the ground. They're going to mine you into a person.
Mm-hmm.
Post-graduation is, whoever you work for, whatever education materials that you're reading, self-help, whatever your, path is, that's going to sculpt you into the sculpture that you actually are going to become. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but in my head, I'm a very visual person. So I think, school, yes, I think it's important. It teaches manners socially, whatever. I don't think it's absolutely necessary to make you into a pretty picture.
Yeah. And that's a very fair point. And like I said, that was a really good answer. And
thanks.
Especially for a question that maybe you probably didn't know you had the answer.
I was like, okay, my dad's gonna watch me later. Okay. Just kidding.
No,
Just kidding.
man,
I do think knowledge is power, but I think you can get it from multiple sources.
Yeah. Well, I hear people saying, you can rent the same textbooks from the library that you get in college, but you just don't have that piece of paper. You just get the information.
Actually, you'd probably actually read the textbooks if you personally rented them and were, taking that action. I remember having college textbooks that I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna look up in the index to where I should be at right now, type of situation. So yeah, I don't know. I think I did take some classes in school. I developed writing skills and things, but that's all just practice too. So
yeah. You mentioned not having any regrets too. I think that's important. Wherever you're at in life, you got there for a reason, or based on decisions you made, good or bad. I think everyone, like, I have some regrets, but they're kind of dumb. Like, man, how come I didn't know about Bitcoin when it first came out? Kind of stuff like that, right? That everyone wants to think about.
Same.
Yeah. But I had a couple people ask me, especially when I think when I, like, shortly after I got married when I was 23, but they asked, like, do you regret not playing football in college? Because I had opportunities to do that. I didn't want to. I liked football. I didn't love it. So they asked if I regret it. I said no, because there's no way I would have met my wife if I played football, and there's no way I would have had the kids I have and the life I have now. That's a huge thing that I didn't do. Would it have been fun? Probably, but I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and that's important to like carry. That mentality is important to carry into your decision making, even if it's like, should I have another cup of coffee or not? Every little thing that you're doing is a co-creation of writing your story. It's like you're manifesting pretty much. I hate using that word because it sounds so like hippy dippy, but
no, it's fine.
I mean, you really are. Putting that thought process out there and knowing that I'm sound in myself and my decision making is going to turn you into have you a life that you look back on. You're like, no, I don't regret anything. As long as you stay to yourself, true to yourself. There you
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I do want to talk about your current business now. So after you got laid off from the cannabis company, immediately were you like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to start my own thing? Because you kind of said you were having a side hustle with this. So did you jump right into this like 100%? Here we go.
Not really.
Okay.
So I I knew kind of in my head that I wanted to continue freelancing. At the time, it was not, kind of a full blown registered LLC. I didn't even have a name for it. I was just kind of doing it word of mouth through the side on the side. And so but then started kind of the brainstorming of Visualize Creative. I had two names for it. Actually, it was going to be Apostrophe Media because the Arminda apostrophe, or Visualize
cool.
Creative.
I like
yeah, I know. I do. So Apostrophe Media. Nobody take that. I still might use that someday.
Well, they're both really good. But
thank you.
Yeah.
So I always had kind of both of those. Those were saved in my notes. I think I wrote both of those names down in like 2018, like just what I was I should have my own business one day, my notes app is like filled of one day, maybe I'll write a book. I don't know. But anyways, I'm just like my notes to myself. Some are crazy. I don't think I'm publishing those, but
those are the best ones.
I know. Right. I'm trying to give that connection, right? Share the real self.
Just start a anonymous Twitter account and just start tweeting.
I know, and that gets bigger than my actual business. I'd be like, great.
It's me, everybody. It's me.
It's me. Hey, you guys, follow my other account. No.
All right, sorry.
So no, you're fine. So I just kind of fell into it. I was kind of toying around. I was on unemployment at the time, obviously, since I just got laid off. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And that was like the normal thing at the time. But not docking that at all. It just emotionally did not make me feel good. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to invest that into an LLC. At least it's an investment, who cares if I don't even I didn't put pressure on myself. I think that was like a big thing. I was like still looking for, full-time jobs. Nothing was hiring at that time, unfortunately. Sure. That was August end of July of 2020. Okay. So everything was shutting down. Yeah. Like we were still in quarantine mode, nobody was hiring basically. So I was like, great. So it kind of, forced me to really take myself seriously, trust that gut feeling. And I registered my LLC on August 13th, 2020. So almost going up on 2 years, which is crazy. But so ever since then, I launched it and it was not easy by any means, a lot of mental thing, just going from having to be your own boss and really, you say you're doing something, you have nobody to keep you accountable when you're first launching your own business. It's like, you really got to show up for yourself. And I think that was like a big part that I struggled with. Same kind of thing with the Mary Kay. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I just do this on the side. So I tried to go to get a recruiting job in the beginning of last year. I lasted there for 3 months.
What happened? It just wasn't for you? I
gave up on myself and I was mentally just not prepared for like that. I think emotional baggage. Okay. So it wasn't that, I didn't I made great money. I was a healthcare recruiter staffing, the pandemic. So it was pretty fruitful and it was hard to financially leave that. But I was, I had that seed still. And at that point, that seed was already grown into like a baby, an actual LLC. And I was just, kind of doing one of these things like, oh my God, it's gonna haunt me. So,
maybe you were subconsciously sabotaging yourself.
I did. I definitely subconsciously sabotaged. So I put my 2 weeks in there and never really kind of looked back since. And thank goodness I didn't do the unemployment this time. I was kind of just like, you know what, this is it. So thank goodness. And now here we are.
Yeah. I think that's my eventual step is LLC. I talked to my my sister-in-law who's a paralegal and we were talking about it a little bit, but eventually, that's just another thing, that I want to do. But it seems so like for you, luckily you found that recruitment job. You're like, man, this is cool. I'm making more money. And then to just leave it behind, it seems, and I said it to other entrepreneurs, like it just seems really scary.
I felt delusional.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I did. I felt delusional. And only because, not that I don't have a beautiful support system. And actually my parents were like, leave the job, do your own business. They're entrepreneurs.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're super used to it. And which helps definitely, you kind of have them cheering you on and, we were there too. So, but everybody else was like, especially at the job, they're all my friends because it's my boyfriend's recruitment company. So, or not, he doesn't own it, but he works there. So I know a lot of the people and, it was really comfortable. I was all work from home. I felt like I was helping out in the pandemic. So
Yeah.
it was really hard to leave. And, I think it's being honest with yourself, like, okay, is this your life purpose? So I took a course with Tony Robbins, another self-help thing that I highly suggest everybody do. If it's not Tony Robbins, at least take some sort of immersion course. Mine was virtual and I did it for 3 days straight. And it was, a lot of amp up and guest speakers and things. But one thing that he had us do was like a vision, or like a visionary experiment. And it was basically, act like you're standing there looking at yourself in the mirror. We have our like little Tony Robbins eye masks on and things. And he asks, what do you look like in 10 years? What do you look like in 20 years? And talk to yourself, And every single time I met myself, in whatever increment time that he was saying, was always an entrepreneur or a business owner, working on this, have a client over here, just got this, talking about like my business, and none of it said recruiting. So
yeah.
I was like, well, I think like maybe that was my future self actually saying that, or maybe I just really had an epiphany knowing that I was kind of like faking it to myself because I didn't want to do the hard, scary thing of owning your own business and putting yourself out there. But I knew, I always say, if you can't stop thinking about it, don't stop working for it. It was kind of one of those things, I just like, it was constantly something that I was trying to subconsciously block, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So yeah.
So you put your 2 weeks in, you started Visualize Creative. So when you first start, do you have clients? Well, let me back up for a minute. What is it exactly that you do? I understand it's social media stuff, but what is it exactly you do for people, or that you wanted to do for people?
Yeah. So, with my social media manager background, I actually went to journalism school for public relations.
Okay.
So I knew I liked, I was kind of more of like the branding and writing aspect of things. I liked, connecting people with bigger publications and that type of thing. So I knew social media could, work in that nature. So I wanted an agency that really only focused on social media and not so much like PR, marketing, creative, all in one. It was kind of more of just like, let's specialize in one thing. I think one of my biggest complaints with working in social media in the corporate setting was one person was doing everything. So my goal was to get, people specialized, one person is an engagement specialist, one person is the content creator, and one person creates the brand identity and schedules and things like that. When you first start, that's all you. But so like you said, it is a lot. It's definitely a full-time job. And then you're kind of worrying about attracting clients on top of that. So yeah, it's definitely not easy. It's a lot of putting yourself out there. I always prop my pitching efforts. They increased. So like I said, I launched the LLC August of 2020. I left my recruitment agency the beginning of pretty much last year. So 2021 June of 2021. So I already had my LLC launched. I had one client and I was making $200 a month. Okay. And in California, go that far.
Get you a couple cups of coffee. Yep.
I didn't even pay for my car rent that I just like park on the sidewalk, or the side of the street pretty much. Yeah. So, it was definitely difficult. And there is a lot of like faking it till you make it type of thing. I was just like posting on my account, thank goodness that I did my parents' social media for a little bit, because at one point they're my only client, So I think, being too proud to take a client on for free to just start a portfolio. I was lucky enough to have a portfolio and then really kind of use my own business's content as a way to market my portfolio as well.
Okay.
I got my first 2 clients through TikTok, actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, they found me through TikTok videos. I don't know how, but it was all through just like social media marketing tips. So it's like, you never really know what video is going to find a client, or at least, pique somebody's interest. Hopefully I'm in somebody's like saved folder somewhere and they'll eventually just work with me. I'm just subconsciously there. But I think it was a lot of guerrilla marketing really. And then I used freelancer websites. So like Upwork to get clients, and Fiverr and things like that. Yep. So okay. I would kind of like poach them on there and be like, hey, by the way, sign up for monthly packages if you like this one thing that I did for you. And it ended up working out. It's kind of just working with the masses, the numbers, and kind of going from there. Yeah, I just actually did like a written interview, and I said, you kind of just fake it. Each day you show up and you're like, okay, I'm going to sign a client today. Even if you don't, you eventually do start signing clients, daily, weekly, whatever. And by, a year later, you're kind of in the middle of your whole entire LLC you just started. So it's definitely a process, and it's not lucrative. Most businesses aren't at first. But if you're willing to take a pay cut for your passion, then definitely do it.
That is celebrating like little things, like you said, hey, I'm going to sign a client today. You don't, but then the next day I'm going to sign a client and you do. Like, hey, let's make some cupcakes and celebrate this thing or whatever. That's one thing I've gotten really good at, and my wife helps me too, because I remember last year, probably about this time, doing this podcast and everything, and she asked me, she was like, how many downloads do you have? And it was like 3,343 or something. And so she baked me a cake and had like congrats on 3,000 whatever downloads, so it was cool, and then I even tell kids if it's coaching track or coaching football, celebrate like little things, because in track you might have not got first place, but you said got a personal record, so let's celebrate that
better than
thing.
Yesterday.
Yes. Yeah. And it makes you want to keep doing more and more because of that good feeling you have just having this little tiny celebration, even if it's for 5 minutes. Take a break if you're sad or unhappy with how everything's going, but this one thing happened. Take 5 minutes, celebrate this thing, get some good momentum flowing, and keep going, because all those things are so important to, especially if you have your own business, to like just it like you said, it's hard. So if you're down in the gutter all the time, or that's how you're feeling, like all these things can lift you out instantly, even if it's for a little bit.
Definitely. Progress is happiness, whether you're working with a client or yourself. So taking the time to track your progress, I think, is always, it's kind of like futuristic thinking, but always super important, so for instance, track, I've never been a track runner in my entire life, but like, you time your race, you time it, and then you track that. And then the next time you track that again, and you see, oh my gosh, I shaved off 2 seconds, or I don't know if that's really impressive or whatever. But, you do the same thing with business, or, maybe when it came to reading, it was super hard for me to get back into reading. And I was even a words person. My mind was just so loud and I could not shut it up to sit down and read even a page and actually comprehend the whole entire thing. I'd go back and reread the same paragraph over and over again. But now it's like 20 minutes goes by and I'm just like zoned into a book. It's all about understanding how far you've come, because you've got forever to go. Everybody's got forever to go, and appreciating that we only have now to feel good. So, if you're anxious, you're thinking too much about the future. If you're regretful, you're thinking too much about the past. Being happy is understanding you made it this far, and you're just getting better each day. And I think that's important to have that mentality going into anything, whether it's waking up to go to school or
or going to shovel all the snow we're about to get here in Ohio.
I heard. Oh, yeah.
So much.
I know. I told my mom, I was like, today was about 70 degrees, I think. So we're the rent jump, I think, for sure, when I hear blizzards are coming.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I have most of my family lives in Texas, and one of my aunts posted like about our storms coming up, or the last storm we had. Like, why would anybody want to live in Ohio? And I just commented, I go, I'd much rather be cold for 3 months than hot for 9 months. So I'm good here. I'm good here.
Oh, are you a hot type of guy? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I sweat horribly. I don't like I work outside. But I also don't like wearing sunblock. So I always have long sleeves on and pants on. But yeah, I don't mind the
whole
cold.
Conundrum you got.
Yeah, definitely. I don't mind the cold because it's only here for a little bit. But I don't want to live my life when it's 100 degrees for 30 days in a row. So.
No, I get that. See, to me, it was like the cold was just, well, I went to BG, so you know how windy that campus is. It was just like, your contacts are like freezing to your eyes. You're like, why am I doing this to myself? I could literally live on a beach right now.
God forbid you go out with wet hair.
Oh my God. Yeah. My hair would like freeze to class, like walking in the wind, wow, I look like Mr. Freeze or whatever.
All right. So I have a question about you said packages for your business. Like, hey, you want to buy a package. I'm assuming that has to do with like how many social media accounts, how much I'm posting, and how much I'm helping you, all this stuff, right?
Yeah, so I have two ways that I have like subscription models, if you will. So you can buy a package, and that one has a certain amount of posts included with your strategies, style guide, and all that fun stuff. A marketing one-on-one call with me where I even coach you on some content, some trending ideas for the upcoming month and things, and an analytic report. So those are kind of those, and it depends on how frequently. So say you want to post, twice a week and you're just kind of starting your brand. You don't want to go too deep into anything, but you just want to get a profile ready for when you do start, hitting full gears blast. There's the first few levels for that. And then you have full social media management, which is that top tier. And you pretty much get about a post a day. And that's when, you kind of get more access to me. So it kind of depends on what's working for your brand, what your strategy is. And I can obviously, help coach you along those lines. Or if you want some sort of like more of a marketing help outside of just social media management, I do like a subscription or a contractor model. So that's where I have like an hourly rate and I'll track hours for the month and things like that. So, I can build websites and do your social media management. That's kind of where I would suggest that contractor model. Or if you want me to just do coaching and social media, that's kind of more of like a outlined package where I can help you out with that too. Everything's customizable. I hate brands that are just like cookie cutter. You still get access to me at all levels. And also you can sign up for Trending Tuesday reports. I publish them once a week on Tuesdays. Once a week or twice a month. I try to post them once a week. But, and basically that goes off of, what's going on with social media updates, what's trending on TikTok, kind of gives you some sound ideas and video ideas to use. So if you're not ready to invest in any of that, at least sign up for the free reports.
So let's say I come to you like, hey, I want you to run my social media. Do you basically just with one of those things, you basically just take over all the social media that I own already, and do we work together to say what you're posting, or you just post on my behalf, or how would that work?
Yeah. So basically what happens is we'll go through an onboarding process. It's pretty much a get to know me process where I get access to your logos, any sort of photos or branding assets that you have that you would like to publish, any old interviews that you would like to pull quote from and things like that. Basically all the content you think that I could use on social media, I'll get access to that right up in front in the beginning. Then I'll build out a month of content for you for social media. Depending on your package level, if we're doing a contractor level, we'll, kind of work on the strategy during our first call together. I'll send over, kind of a quick little outline of what's going on with I call them content pillars. Content pillars are basically 3 to 4 groups or topics that will kind of cycle through to help create content. It's a really easy way to, I don't know if your brain works like mine, but you can kind of block schedule, if you will, your content. So, you're working on, if you're a wellness client, healthy recipes, and then you can just pick out 4 recipes, that's 1 post a week for recipe content. So we'll kind of work on that. And if I need content from you, I then coach you on what I need, say set up your phone and this camera angle and things like that. Please use the back of your phone, because that camera is better and things like that. So I'll help you kind of walk you through that process. Then we'll get a month of content all done for you. You'll get the approval process where you take a deep dive, look at the captions, take a look at the hashtags, tag people if you want. And then we schedule it. So then it's all pretty much automated. And then throughout the month, you can add to it, revise it, whatever you need. But then we work on the next month. So you always have like kind of a month of buffer.
Man, that seems hard, and I would see why people would hire you to do that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Just based on the little bit that I do, I was like, man, that's a lot.
It's fun. It's fun for me. It doesn't feel like work, but yeah, it can definitely get overwhelming when you're doing that all by yourself and, worrying about accounting or payroll or, going to school full time or going to your job during the day. It's definitely helpful to hire your weaknesses.
With social media, it can be 24 hours, right? You can do it whenever you want. Are you able to find like a happy balance, home work balance, as far as like, hey, I do social media these times, or is it just like, hey, throughout the day, you're just doing something?
Yeah. Work-life balance is definitely always a challenge. I think it's more of like work-life integration than anything. um, I'm pretty good with turning off I have an app that I use for my work phone. And then I also have an app to use to, you schedule things of that nature. So like posts and things. So I'll normally turn off notifications on the weekend, or if I know, I'm going out to a happy hour, I'm not going to have my phone buzzing the whole entire time, because then I'm just going to be worrying about, getting back to those notifications. I'm totally a people pleaser. So it's hard for me to make people wait.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in the beginning it was easy to burn out, but it's important to know that even if it is stressful to turn off, it's still way more beneficial to feel stressed for like 30 minutes while you decompress and actually have the rest of your evening so you feel refreshed the next day. It's easy for me. Every time Monday comes around, I always want to work till like 10 o'clock at night, just to get the head start on the week. But I always end up, even when I do that, I always end up feeling burnt out by, Thursday. So it's important to have that cut off, go to the gym, take care of yourself, fill up your own cup so you can fill up the rest of everyone else's, from something full.
Yeah.
I think, it's hard.
Oh yeah, definitely. And, with my job it's 6:30 to 2:30 and I'm done with it. Every once in a while I got to answer emails or phone calls. That's not a huge deal. But this podcast, like tonight after the podcast, I'll immediately go edit the audio, edit the video, especially this week because of the snow. I'm going to have to work a lot. So, and so I'm sitting on my couch. It'll be 9 o'clock. I'm editing or whatever. And then me and my wife are watching TV. So all that, I know at some point, like if it's a year, 2, 5 years from now, like I'll be able to either have someone do that for me or have other time to do that stuff, but right now, like with your business right now, you have to do all this stuff, but like you said, it's still important to take care of yourself and make sure you're
with wifey.
Yes,
definitely.
Because our kids go to bed, we get a couple hours together at night, and then we go to bed. So
right, you're like, oh, see you next Tuesday when we can actually hang out, or I think it's hard, and I think especially when it comes to having a boss and things, standing up for yourself and keeping those boundaries is even harder, especially when other people don't always respect, 9:30 on a Friday night. Please don't text me about a social media post that you want in 2 weeks from now. Wait till Monday at least. So I think that's hard, leveraging expectations with other people when you're onboarding. During that onboarding process, I think is vital to any, business owner, especially when you're going into like a contract where it's kind of an extended time. Saying, here are my office hours, if you will. I'm still available if you absolutely need me, but like, these are my boundaries, blah, 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 type of thing. So it's kind of on you as a business owner and you as an employee, you as a, student, whatever it is, to establish those boundaries. And then you're the only one that can really uphold those, so keeping that promise to yourself, I think, is going to in turn kind of boost your own self-confidence, because you're like, man, I'm not going to answer that text back on 9:30. Or that DM, which I love the post. Sometimes it's hard because I'll even want to respond back because I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. But I'm like, no, my boundaries, I got to wait till Monday morning.
Yeah. So that's why when I would message you and you wouldn't message me back for 3 days and I was cussing you out. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. Listen, I get so many DMs. Actually,
I'm sure you do.
I have all of my Instagram notifications turned off, because if I don't, my phone rings.
Yeah.
Twice a second. I don't even know how it does it. It's just like constantly going off for Instagram. So, which is a great problem to have. That means my clients are thriving, but I'm like, oh my God, get away.
I always think about that with really famous people always getting tagged and stuff, or people commenting on their posts like, ugh.
Yeah, they have to have those notifications turned off. If they don't, more power to them. They have better willpower than I do. I would be on my phone all day. I'd be like, my bags would be down to here, underneath my eyes.
All right. It's but they wouldn't get the satisfaction of someone responding to them like, ooh, someone commented on my post. No one ever comments on my posts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's nice, definitely, to make sure you respond back to everybody, for sure. If it takes 48 hours, more power to you if you can do it quicker, but make sure you at least like the message,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
If people want to, hire you, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can head over to my website at visualizecreative.co, C-O, not com.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can head over to my Instagram at visualizecreative, and that's where I'm at. You can shoot email, all of it's linked to that. Yeah, and we can kind of get the process started. If you need a customized quote, we can work on that too. I'm kind of here to make anybody's life easier. So
I'll put your website and your Instagram in the show notes too, so people can click on it if they want to get a hold of you. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I know it's a good one. When I look at the clock, I'm like, oh man, it's been an hour already. So
oh my gosh, have we? Yeah, it's been fun. This has been awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I do enjoy, like, every once in a while when you put those videos out, like I like listening to them because it is good information. When you put all that stuff out. So hopefully, if anything, you get some followers on that, so they can also find that information useful. Did you say you're on TikTok also?
I am on TikTok. Yeah, but everything's at Visualize Creative. If you're looking for me personally, I post like fun wellness content and just what I'm doing in San Diego. That's at Arminda Madison or just Arminda. So Perfect. I'll send you those links too if you need.
Yeah. Thanks again, Arminda. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good luck on the blizzard. Hopefully it doesn't shut you in too much this week, and hopefully chat soon. It's fun.
Yeah, thanks. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. It means the world to me. If we can get this podcast off the ground and running, you don't have to share all the episodes. Just share one you like. One podcast, if you share one, could turn into a subscriber down the road. So any little bit helps. My Gmail is thenerdballpodcast@gmail.com. I'm on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Find me at Twitter at the Nerdball Pod. Instagram is the Nerdball Podcast, and Facebook is a page at the Nerdball Podcast. Thanks to Real JP Multimedia, Cuttlefish Graphics, Perrysburg Junior High STEM, and Big Daddy Graphics for helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.